Okay, folks, so here's a little lesson for you. You work for a university, or if you work for somebody, don't insult them online. And you may accidentally do that if you do what the grand professor of all professors, Jennifer Hochschild, however you say her name, at Harvard did to herself, where she has put not just one rake in her path, two rakes, and she stepped on both of them, and they hit her square in the noggin, right in the nose, and pretty much knocked her out. At the pretense of being involved in a class action lawsuit. So you got to be careful of that. So Harvard's just getting dinged left and right, and you know what? They so deserve it. I tell you, I have seen smarter people at community colleges who have been used more apparent critical thinking skills than what's going on at Harvard and the people they're getting there. I think their own ego is tripping them up. It always has. But at this point, with all the stuff that's gone on with their president, Claudine Gay, who got fired as president, she still got a job, though. $900,000 a year. That's actually right. Yep, she's still getting paid that salary. Yeah, believe it or not. So essentially, this is like the intelligence agency's favorite university. We should just call it CIA University because that's where they're hiring from, and that's who they're giving a ton of money to these guys to be these type of idiots. So this Harvard professor insulted Chris Rufo, who found out about all the plagiarizing that was being done by Claudine Gay, the president, who got in major hot water, which she should have because she's a major DEI stookie. And she basically gained her position through no merit of her own. She was just a plagiarist. And she looks like Urkel too, so I think that's why she got her position too. She's kind of this amorphous, asexual entity that people like Klaus Schwab would love because they want the future to be like these sexless AI generated people. And she fits right into that category. So, yeah, Harvard professor who insulted Harvard Extension School to own Chris Rufo asked to clarify in an epic walkback. So, I'm going to read this a little bit here. It says, do you remember the other day when everybody on the intellectual left was diminishing the value of a degree from the Harvard Extension School, HES? You don't remember this because I wasn't paying attention, but the end result is what we're getting at here. It's an easy story to get through. You don't have to know what's going on very much. You'll get it. It says, so Harvard has a Harvard Extension School. Same thing, same criteria, same difficulty. It's exactly the same, and you get your Harvard diploma at the end, and you are considered part of the Harvard Alumni Association after you get your degree. It's the same. So, many on the intellectual left were diminishing the value of a degree from the Harvard Extension School as a weak attempt to stick it to conservative writer and professor Christopher Rufo, who has boasted in the past of having received his master's degree from Harvard despite having attended the Harvard Extension School. Regardless, he got his degree there, and the requirements are the same, and the prerequisites and the demands are exactly the same. They were also gleeful to diminish Rufo by diminishing one of, bad writing, by the way, diminishing one of the institutions from which he earned a degree that none of them stopped to think about what this implied about the students that had earned their degrees there and the value of the institution itself, not to mention what it might mean to Harvard, who has in the past advertised a degree from the Harvard Extension as being a legitimate Harvard degree. If you were keeping up on this as it played out, I wasn't, but this is the interesting finale here. You may have noticed that one of the people who jumped into this frenzy of denigrating the institution was Jennifer Hochschild, who is herself a teacher at the Harvard Extension School. Okay? Like I said, not one rake, two. She stepped into two rakes and they both hit her square in the head. She saw it the first time and stepped on it. She saw it the second time and stepped on it. So at the time, it appeared that she must not value her employer much, since she was happy to diminish the quality of the students there, and implicitly her employer itself, in the name of dunking on Chris Rufo. Yes, this is a landmine, and she went ahead and stepped on it. Thank you. Thank you for sacrificing. On Rufo, what do integrity police say about his claim to have a master's degree from Harvard? Okay, which is actually from the Open Enrollment Extension School. Those students are great. I teach them. But they are not the same as what we normally think of as a Harvard graduate students. She's saying those students are great in the extension program, the ones I teach, but they are not the same as what we normally think of as Harvard graduate students. Basically, she left it out. They're not as great as regular Harvard graduate students. Okay, so she hits the first rake. Okay, smacks her right in the head. Doesn't teach her much, but smacks her right in the head. You know, HES students are fine, Harvard Extension, and all, but their lesser seems to be what she decided to go with here. Wouldn't you just love to take a class from her? I would, because I would know that I would be insulted, and she doesn't see me the same. She sees me as lesser, right? Not the same, not great, but not as great as regular Harvard students. And so you would think being at Harvard, she would be very, very much better at critical thinking than the rest of us, but she has failed. I don't think Harvard is a school that invites critical thinkers anymore. It's a cabal of indoctrination. It's the Jim Jones University now, so everybody's drinking that Kool-Aid. Who earned, that if a degree from HES wasn't a real Harvard degree, that would be news to the people who earned a degree from the Harvard Extension system and were at the time under the impression that it was a Harvard degree, which many have. Many have gone through the Harvard Extension program, and they were under the impression that it is a Harvard degree, which I will show you it legitimately is a Harvard degree. Talk began to swirl about potential lawsuits in the future. Aristophanes says this is hilarious. Harvard is basically burning down their own extension school out of spite, portraying it as being worth about as much as Trump University, all because that's where Chris Rufo got his graduate degree. It will be dope when the Federal Trade Commission references this tweet in the lawsuit against Harvard Extension School. I expect Bill Ackman to get on this and set up a potential lawsuit with Harvard Extension School grads. Yes, Bill Ackman, very outspoken activist investor who is like, I am not donating any more money to Harvard, and I am not a Democrat anymore. And he is one of their major donors right now. So he's like, I am going to go after these guys. We'll see. But John Carter says, cool. So the Harvard brand is false advertising. Looking forward to the class action lawsuit from everyone who attended the extension school. A.J. Delgado, in the same line of hive mind thinking as this professor, says, hi, Harvard real degree here. You're spot on. The extension school is a source of laughter and annoyance for students and alumni. I think Columbia has one too. Same thing here. It's basically an anyone can enroll so long as you pay. No more stringent than a community. Readers added context to this. This is false. Harvard Extension School is a fully accredited Harvard school with automatic membership to the Harvard Alumni Association. Admission is based on performance in 3 prerequisite degree courses, and it is targeted towards older age and distance students. And there is the About link for the Harvard Extension. Let's click on that and see. In Harvard's own words on their own page, we are Harvard. That's the first thing that the Extension School says. We are Harvard. We have extended Harvard University to the world, to adult learners who have the curiosity and drive to be challenged. We serve students seeking part-time online courses and programs to advance their career. Okay, enough of that. Okay, we are a fully accredited Harvard school. Our degrees and certificates are adorned with the Harvard University insignia. They carry the weight of that lineage. our graduates walk at university commencement and become members of the Harvard Alumni Association, as we see. Yeah, should have looked at that. Should have looked that up. And being a teacher of the Harvard Extension students, that should have been your first thought. Now, was this talk something that needed to be taken serious? Well, given what's happened now, we can most likely assume that the people at Harvard were taking it seriously, because Professor Hochschild, however you say her name, today began backpedaling from her previous position as fast as she possibly can, it looks like. Why? Not because she's moral, not because she pretends to have a set of morals. The only reason is fear of God, which to somebody on the left who doesn't believe in God, the fear of God would be you're going to lose your position because we're going to get sued and we're going to hear from donors about this, and you're going to lose your job. And so when it comes to money, finances, that's the only thing the left responds to. So don't try to respond to them on basis of some shared moral system, because that's not going to happen. They don't really have that. Their mindset is based on the tangibles. My lifestyle, I have my phone, I have money, and I have my position. And so that's the only reason they're going to apologize, by the way. They're not going to make reconciliation because they went, oh man, I shouldn't have said that. I just insulted all my students. I'm sorry. Nope. It's not based on something that's a conscience. It's based on, oh crap, I'm going to lose my job. Jennifer Hochschild said, I was asked to clarify, and I am glad to do so. She's not. HES courses, extension courses, are Harvard University courses, often the same as in FAS as for my courses. HES, Harvard Extension School bachelor's and master's degrees, are Harvard University degrees. She teaches in the Harvard Extension system, and she didn't read the Harvard about page on the Harvard Extension page, because this is exactly what it says. She was told, here's what the page looks like, and here's what you represent. You just dissed all the people that you taught, who you represent. HES bachelor's and master's degrees are Harvard University degrees. She also dissed on herself, by the way, by saying, I don't teach students that are quite as great, and therefore I'm not as great. I mean, she kind of implied that, didn't she? Like, that's the implication here, that, oh, you also dissed on your own job. So HES is a school in Harvard University, analogous to other schools. HES students are Harvard University students. And I'll tell you, it seems like they got a lot of money wrapped up in this Harvard Extension School. Okay, because Columbia has one too now, and they're probably getting a lot more money worldwide from that by offering that. So she was asked to clarify, and as I said, money was on the line, and she probably got called on the carpet by the Harvard Corporation Board, and the legal department was probably in on it too. Christopher Rufo was quick to do a victory lap in the replies. This was awesome. You dumped on your own school in an attempt to delegitimize my degree, then turned around and said, it is, in fact, a wonderful, rigorous, and bona fide Harvard degree. You made a fool of yourself not once, but twice. That takes commitment. Congratulations, Jennifer Hochschild, however you say her name. And he follows by saying, amazing. The Harvard professor who trashed Harvard Extension School is now furiously walking it back, of course, declaring that HES is absolutely part of Harvard, that its classes are often the same as those in the more prestigious facilities, and that its degrees are full Harvard degrees. Who doesn't love schadenfreude when it comes at the expense of someone who's made themselves your enemy? You got a talking to, eh? That's what I think all of us are saying. So somebody came down and talked to you. When you put Harvard University, you put professor in your Twitter profile, you're at that point representing your school. So is that really a clarification, Jennifer, or the exact opposite of what you said a few days ago? Somebody in doing the backstroke, just apologize and admit you were wrong. Yes, exactly. But with the cabal at Harvard, yes, we're the best university. Hey, if you are at the best and you are the best and you went to Harvard, congratulations. I believe it's got a reputation for a reason. But in this day and age now, we're seeing that Harvard is starting to actually fall apart. And all of academia is falling apart. I see more credible critical thinkers at community colleges, I'll be honest, and vocational schools. You want to get your degree in welding, you're probably more of a critical thinker than these jokers right here. I think academia is interesting. I think it has some merit, for sure, but at this point, no, the academic system is so corrupt. Probably because the massive bureaucracy and the massive amount of administrators. It's a rare person who's willing to come down all the way to an admission of being wrong, and we're not going to hold our breath waiting to find out if Professor Hochschild is that rare person, because she's probably not. Yeah, exactly. Your attempt at damage control is futile, Jennifer. A complete and total reversal of your prior statement is actually a retraction, if one is kind, or a humiliating backpedal if one is not, and not a clarification. The steak comes with two sides, is a clarification. The steak is actually a shoe, is not. Wow, okay, that's a really good one. I've been informed that Harvard Extension School graduates are alumni that donate money too. Yeah, when it comes to donors, they're looking at it going, oh, maybe they're going to pull their donations. Yeah, and they'll sue you. Yes, this is probably a more accurate reading of the situation. She's going to have a hell of a weekend, and I do sympathize. It's hard. Those weekends are hard when you have to really mull things over. But I don't know. You kind of started this whole thing. Extremely reading from a prepared statement while two masked men in fatigue stand directly behind you holding rifles. That's essentially what it was. Watching Harvard professors utterly beclown themselves in the service of insulting Christopher Rufo is equal parts hilarious and depressing. It is a sad state of affairs. I'm telling you right now, there is a trailer park out there called Harvard. Yep, it's a ramshackle, defunct, bloated welfare system for a lot of snots, and it is rampant with not meritocracy, but a blackmail system. That's why there's hardly any conservative professors at Harvard, and I expect if there are, they keep their mouths shut. This is not a university. What the intended purpose of a university was to open minds, to have free thinking. It is not free thinking to get rid of conservative voices or any voice that disagrees with you. It doesn't have to be conservative, but if there's disagreement, like Dr. Bhattacharya, I think it's at Berkeley or Stanford. I mean, that guy had he's I don't know if he's even conservative. He just had a dissenting voice on COVID and he got blacklisted. So, sad state of affairs. Why do superior real Harvard grads keep getting owned by lowly Harvard Extension School grads? At some point, people who claim to be elite need to show some evidence. I actually agree. If you are the elite and you are the best of the best of the best, please demonstrate that. Because I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing it's like having like a championship swimmer walk around a pool like half the day and tell you how great of a swimmer they are, and then they never get in. And you're like, well, okay, but you haven't gotten in the pool yet. And then they go back into the locker room and leave. I don't believe you. I'm hesitant to believe you because I haven't seen you swim in the pool. Perhaps they were only elite because they told us they were elite and we were fool enough to believe them. This I do agree. If you repeat it enough, people start to believe, oh, these are the elites. Well, they're proving themselves pretty badly here. Harvard's recent track record on hiring decisions, the way they allow their student body to act on campus, probably fits right in anyway. So with that, she's probably worthy of being at Harvard. With basically, this is a shell of its former self. It's been gutted. And if you really want to go do something for real or use some critical thinking skills, go be an electrician. I'm serious. Anyway, thanks, folks, and I will talk to you later. And put it in comments below. So talk to you later. Bye.